Okay, looks like we're here just at 1 o'clock now, so I'd like to get things started. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Brian and I are here today from identiMetrics. We're going to be hosting this webinar for you. I'm Tina. I'm going to be your tour guide. And then Brian, he's here to make sure that everything runs smoothly and to manage all of the Q&A that we'll have at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to pass it over to Brian to get things kicked off.
Hey everyone, as Tina mentioned, here to make sure everything runs smoothly. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat or the Q&A section of the Zoom. And before we get started, I want to open up a quick poll for everybody. It's a single question, so it shouldn't take you very much time, maybe about 30 seconds to a minute to answer this question.
All right, thanks, Brian. Okay, so let's get started here. I'm going to move this out of the way just for a second. Okay, so I'd like to start off by talking about what are plugins. Most of you, you're using PowerSchool, maybe you're familiar with what plugins are, but I always just like to kick things off by defining what a plugin is. Plugins are cleverly called plugins because they're components that plug directly into PowerSchool. They're designed to enhance your PowerSchool SIS experience. Our plugin specifically is a front office solution. It's a front office solution that is designed to manage your whole process, your whole tardy process for students who are coming into the building late. And as plugins do, they're writing directly, our plugin is writing directly to PowerSchool. Many of you right now could be bogged down with a lot of those tasks and doing them manually, right? You have a student that comes in late, you have to manually write that hall pass, you have to find the student's record in PowerSchool, you have to enter the attendance and the appropriate code, you got to jot down how many tardies you have, get that hall pass and hurry up and get him off the class. Like a lot of you said, the process takes a long time. Our plugin is designed to automate, streamline, and speed up that entire process. Okay, so let's dive into it and let me show you around a little bit. Our plugin has 2 dedicated attendance pages, and they are just 2 clicks away from the start page. So if you, viewing my screen here, you see PowerSchool is up. I'm going to show you my 2 clicks to get to the attendance screen, which we will be going over right now. I'm going to click on attendance. My 1 click. My 2nd click is going to bring me right over here to a link that brings me right to what we call our scan page. The scan page is the page that the attendance clerk will have up for the attendance entries, okay? Let's take a look at this scan page and see how it's broken down. We have a date and a timestamp at the top. We have an attendance code that is selected through the configuration as my default. Just FYI, we're going to be going back into the configuration area during this presentation as well. So this is a code that I have configured in my setup as my default code. However, if I need to change that code for any reason, I have a drop-down selection that will allow me to choose any code from my attendance bank. Okay, and again, pulling from my attendance bank, this would be, on your PowerSchool server side, your attendance bank. Hall pass option is provided, also can be pre-configured. The attendance comment area can add anything, doctor's appointment, overslept, whatever information would need to be added there. And then right here in this area, you'll see that it's looking for ID input. The bottom half of our page is going to give me a list, a selection of all of the students' daily attendance that has been recorded. This is a daily view. Okay, so every day that the attendance clerk starts at the start page and does her 2 clicks to come over to her scan page to begin the attendance process, this bottom half of the page is empty. And as the day progresses, the daily attendance will fill up on this page. Page number 1, this is one of our dedicated pages. The second dedicated page for attendance is what we call the printing page or the reporting page. Powerful stuff here because it's our cumulative view. So you are able to take the information for your tardy students that you've collected and filter so that you can manage your data easily and efficiently. So if we take a look on this page right here, PowerSchool has a built-in basic filter option, but the plugin provides some advanced filter options. And as you see, as I open these up, you can switch and sort your data in all kinds of ways to find the information that is going to be most useful for you. So this is our cumulative page. If I go back a breadcrumb, this is our attendance scan page, which again is open and what would need to be open when your attendance clerk is managing to those students that are coming in the front door late. The plugin, it's looking for ID input. Notice what I have here. I have a box here that says place finger lightly. So there are multiple ways that you can enter ID information for your students. One of them is using our finger scan ID management system. A second way is to manually add ID information. A third way, use a barcode reader. A fourth way could be using a pin pad. Think cafeteria style, where you have pin pads attached to a computer and the students would type their ID number in, similar to the way you might be doing that in the cafeteria now. So 4 ways that ID input can be sent into our plugin: biometric finger scan, barcode, manual entry, or a pin pad. So any way that you choose to add that student information will work just fine. So what I want to do right now is I want to show you how this works when a student arrives late to school. So here we are, we're at the scan page. The attendance clerk has done their 2 clicks from the start page, attendance, and the link to the scan page. And now students are coming in late to the building, and he's easily able to manage that, that flow of students and record their attendance. So notice the first way I'm going to show you recording attendance is using my finger scanner. And then I'm going to show you some manual entry ways so you can see that it doesn't matter which one you use, it's still going to record appropriately. So if you keep an eye on the screen here, you're going to see a couple of things that happen pretty quickly. I'm going to place my finger on this scanner. And what's going to happen next is I'm going to have a hall pass that's going to be generated. I apologize for the delay. I do use a sandbox, a partner sandbox, and sometimes it has its own time frame. Okay, so here we go. Scan my finger, and now my hall pass has been generated. This is one of the 6 critical actions that we manage in an automated fashion that you might be doing right now manually. So let's bring this in a little bit and see what my hall pass says. I have a date and a timestamp on this hall pass. I have the student's name. I have a hyphen in the class area, but if Andrea had a class on her bell schedule for this particular day, it would be listed here. The attendance code and the status, that just pulled from my attendance bank the way that I had it set up, and it will pull exactly from yours as you have things configured. I have a scan time, and look at these 2 at the bottom. I have a total tardy count. The plugin is keeping track of the number of tardies that your student has reached when they come into the building late. So every day, if you have a student coming in late every day, that number will build. And then there's a pre-configured action, consequence, behavior change that we want to see that's associated with that tardy threshold that has been reached. You configure these on your own. You determine what the action is based on the tardy threshold that's been reached. So I paused here for a minute, but now we're going to go right back to the start page and we are ready for the next student. Had I not paused the scan page, I'm sorry. And had I not paused that whole process would have taken about, under 3 seconds. Lots of things happened, when I scanned that student, in. And I want to take it over and I want to show you exactly how things were recorded for our student, Andrea. So let's go into our attendance and let's see where that recorded. And again, I apologize for any delays on the shared sandbox that I have. Every once in a while, it just decides to be a little slow. Okay, so I'm going to go into my tardy students and I'm going to find Andrea here. Here she is. Here's Andrea. Let's take a look at her daily record. And in her daily record, Thursday, December the 8th, look what happened. Automatically appended that record. So in that, in that less than 3-second time frame, we had a hall pass printed. We had an attendance code that was appended. We counted those tardies. We appended that scan page with that student's information, and all of that is happening very, very quickly without you having to manually do any of that, any of those tasks. So here our tardy was assigned to Andrea. I'm going to open up this record and let's take a look a little bit closer and see what happened here. Tardy excused is the attendance code that was recorded for Andrea, and the scan time, the exact time that Andrea came into the building, was appended to the comment area. I want to go through the process again, and this time I'm going to choose a different code, and then I'm going to show you how we can choose a different code from the drop down, and then I'm going to do a manual entry so that you can see what that looks like instead of the finger scan. So I want to bring this back to the start page, and I want to again go over the idea that when your attendance clerk launches PowerSchool in the morning, to get to the scan page, we have 2 clicks, attendance, and then we have a link on the other side here that will bring us right to the scan page. We are ready. We are ready for our students to come through that front door. So let's say I have a student that we don't want to use this code. This is what's pre-configured, but I want to set a different code. And I'm going to say, okay, you don't have a note with you today. This is going to be a tardy unexcused. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to manually enter an ID number. So I'm going to manually enter a number. I'm going to submit this. And let's just see how our hall pass looks here for Michael. Let's bring that in. Michael, date and a timestamp, the attendance code. It's changed because I changed that on the page. So it's going to record based on how my scan page was configured for this for this student. Michael is on 3. The consequence or the action for tardy number 3 says, let's get back on track. Okay, now we're ready to go. Ready for the next student's ID entry. Again, finger scan, barcode, manual entry, or pin pad. Let's take a look at Michael's record. It's going to look a little different because our plugin has the ability to record daily attendance in one of 2 ways. And I just said something very important there. Daily attendance. We are recording to the student's daily record. We are not recording to the student's meeting record. So if a student is coming in, the daily record will be appended, but not the associated meeting. So I'm looking here at our friend Michael. Here he is. Michael's going to look a little bit different because the plugin also has the capability to append the clock in and the clock out fields in their record. So if your state requires entry of minutes, so the clock in and clock out fields on the daily record need to be appended so that you can have instructional minutes accounted for, we'll do that for you automatically with the plugin. So let's take a look at how Michael's record looks a little bit different than Andrea's. Again, Andrea's just had the attendance code. Our plugin also has the ability to give you the clock in and clock out fields being appended. So let's take a look here. Notice what happened. Michael came in and it was 1:12. His clock in time to the building was 1:12 in the afternoon. And then we will automatically assign a clock out value for the end of day for that bell schedule, should you want to choose to use this option within the PowerSchool plugin. So again, the clock in field is appended with the time that Michael came into the building. The clock out value would be appended automatically with the end of the day for that bell schedule. We'll pull that in. So 2 different ways. This, you would configure the plugin based on how you want it to behave. Use the clock in and clock out fields or not, either way. Okay, so let's go back to the start page here. And again, our 2 clicks to get to our scan page, attendance, and then the link to get over to the scan page itself. And here we are. Excellent. And you'll notice that now I have the list of students continues to grow. I have Michael's record that's been appended in here and added to the list, and Andrea's attendance record as well. Notice I have some nice headers here: student number, the grade, the time the student came into the building, the code, the description, and how many tardies, at a really easy, at a glance accumulation of what's been happening during the course of your day. I'm going to move over to the second one of our dedicated attendance pages, which I talked about, the printing page, the reporting page. So I want to talk about that a little bit more. On this page, again, we have basic filter options, and we also have advanced filter options. The advanced filter options can be very, very useful for you in terms of managing, for example, the students that have reached a certain tardy threshold that your attendance team needs to get in front of. So let's just say, for example, we're looking at anybody that has a tardy. We want to see everybody that has 3 tardies. And I'm going to apply that filter. And all of a sudden, I have a nice little list here of how many students have 3 tardies. Maybe Mr. Jones needs to see this information, because Mr. Jones is the one is on your attendance team that needs to get in front of these kids before it actually turns into a situation that becomes, chronic tardy, which we know could lead to chronic absenteeism. So a real nice way to sort and filter your data so that your attendance intervention teams can really do their job more efficiently. So again, some nice advanced filtering options. This is our cumulative view. I will go back a breadcrumb here to our daily view, and you are ready for your next student to come through the door. Okay, all of that information is showing you how it's working, and then the reporting printing page that you can use for easy access to the data that you collected. But let's talk about setup. Like, what does setup look like? Well, setup is also very, very streamlined, efficient, and pretty quick. So I'm in Cherry Hill Middle School. Our plugin is configured for each school that will be using the plugin. So there's 2 areas that we set up in our plugin before you're ready to go. So let's take a look at the first one. And I'm going to go into the school setup. And at the bottom of my page, I have a configuration link. So I'm going to go into this configuration link, and you'll see here that there's 3 areas on this page that need set up or configured for use with our plugin. The main settings area is going to determine how your scan page looks, right? That's the one of the 2 dedicated attendance pages. So this is all about what code you want to use, what hall pass options, how you want to reset your tardy count period, whether you're going to use a full year of information, or maybe reset after your semesters or quarters, depending upon how your attendance preferences are set. So the main settings will dictate the way that your scan page looks. Your print slip settings are all about how you want your hall pass to look. And the preset tardy comments down here, this is the area where you will have a tardy count or a tardy threshold, and then assign an action, consequence, behavior change that you wish to see for your students based on the tardy threshold that's been reached. We give you 50 of these, a lot of them. You got a lot of these to work with. So that's the one page that needs to get, or one area that needs to get configured for use with our plugin. Main settings for the scan page, print slip settings for the way that your hall pass looks, and then your preset tardy comments that will determine the action, the disciplinary consequence that would be associated with reaching that particular threshold. There's one more area that needs to get set up in the school, and that is the attendance codes. And here is where you are going to determine the behavior of the attendance code that you'll be using with our plugin. So I'm going to open up Tardy Excused first. And if you can remember a little bit with Andrea, we used the Tardy Excused with Andrea. And what you noticed was her daily record was appended with a TE only. We did not put the clock in and clock out values. Okay, so with that particular code that I have set up here, We do not use a clock in and a clock out plan. We're just saying we don't want to use that with this code. We just want to make sure that we have the tardy attendance code entered to her daily record. So you'll see that I don't have, this is left blank. But there are 3 check boxes that you would need to determine whether to use or not to use with an attendance code for the plugin. Do you want to use the code in the tardy count? If you check it, that means you do. Do you want to use this code to print out a hall pass? Yes, with a check. And do I want to include this on the printing page, that printing reporting page, that cumulative view? And I've said yes to all 3. So again, this is how you would set up a code not wanting to use the clock in and the clock out options. Our friend Michael, we did use a code that had the clock in and clock out options set up, and he had a tardy unexcused code. And again, you can choose which code to set up in which way. This is just for my demonstration purposes, the way that I have it set up. So with my tardy unexcused code, I've said, yes, please use this code in my total tardy count. Please use this code for the clock in and the clock out. Please use this code to print a hall pass, and I definitely want to see that information on the reporting page. Plan B, again, assigned to the tardy code, which means that the student will have the scan time appended to the clock in field, and then the end of day for the bell schedule appended to the clock out field. So we take care of the way that the attendance codes are set up from this section in your attendance preferences. 2 areas. Plugin's done. Probably takes about, 30 minutes tops to get everything set up, to kind of like talk it through and decide how you want to get this plugin configured. It takes about 30 minutes maximum again. So I'm going to go back over here, my 2 clicks, my attendance, and I'm going to go back to my second click here, which brings me right to my scan page, and I'm ready to go. So that is the flow of the plugin. Again, it's a front office solution. It's designed to automate and manage your entire tardy process. And it writes to the student's daily attendance record. It does not, at this juncture, append the meeting side. Okay, so regardless if a student comes in 3rd period, the daily record will be appended, but the meeting will not be. The teachers will continue to do on their side what they need to do in terms of attendance reporting. And that's kind of a summary of everything that we have here to show. So I would love to, it's just 22 after the hour here, and I would love to take a minute now to field any questions that anybody has about the plugin, its use, its setup. I'll let you drive that, Brian.
Yeah, definitely. We've got some questions here already, and feel
Excellent.
free, if you've got questions, please put them in the chat or in the question and answer section. We'll get to those. First question here is, how does it work for period attendance? Our school operates on a 7-period attendance. Teachers take attendance for all periods. Students are allowed 3 tardies per period. We need to be able to run a report that will alert us when the student reaches a 3rd tardy threshold for the class period. Does our plugin make this possible?
Yeah, currently it does. Currently, it's not going to manage to the period. Okay, currently this plugin will manage to the daily attendance record only. So it's going to manage to its front office, daily attendance. The teachers would still need to continue to do what they do. The plugin currently is not interacting with the student's period. If you can make sure that we have Brian, do we have the information of the person for that question?
We do.
Excellent, because just a little tickler out there, we are working on that right now. So thank you for that question.
Good. We have another question here. It's are the tardy actions configurable? I'm assuming that's the tardy comments, the consequence section.
Yes, and let's go in there right now and let's take a look at how you would do that. So from the school setup, on the left navigation bar, we would go into the configuration settings, and right down here where we have the preset tardy comments, if I wanted to type something in here, this is your first tardy, you would be able to do the same. So yes, you are going to configure your comments based on the tardy threshold. It's to, when you get the plugin, when you install it, it looks like that. And you have 400 characters to fill in that tardy comment that you'd like to put there.
Okay. Are there other ways to use this plugin, for example, like for field trips?
Absolutely. You absolutely can do that. So I'm just going to bring this over here. You can use this, you can, designed as a tardy management plugin, but obviously you have the capability to pull in any attendance code from this scan page. So if I wanted to go ahead and pull in a field trip, for example, certainly could use this for a field trip. And if I, typed in a number here, I don't have a hall pass set up for that, but it's going to record a field. I don't have a hall pass set up, so it's just going to go right back to the page. But even though, and we can see here, Christopher Anderson, now we have appended his daily record with an F for field trip, which is how I have it set up. So yes, lots of creative ways that you can use this plugin. It's one of the things that, to be honest with you, I love to do, and my team loves to do when we work with schools. You see its basic functionality, but you have other ways you'd like to use it. We like to help you on that journey to figure out how to manage your attendance best for your school.
Okay. It looks like we have time for one more question here. It's I'm ready to move forward, but I need to convince a few others that we want to move to the solution. Is there a way for us to test it out?
Wow, it's an awesome question, and the answer is absolutely. So I'm a big fan of making sure that a solution is going to work for you. And so what you could do, if interested, let us know. You can run this as a free, free trial, check it out for a couple of weeks, make sure that it fits in with your, the school attendance processes, procedures. You'll work closely with me to answer any questions and guide you through that, for that first, couple of weeks that you want to use it. If it's working for you, then sure, then we'll go ahead and get to the next step. And, from a purchasing position, if not, if you're not interested, then we just uninstall it. And, there's nothing contractual at that point. So yes, free trial, couple weeks, and I'm here to help guide that process along with you.
Wonderful. It looks like that was all the questions that we had, Tina.
Cool. One of the things I just want to close with is, when we talk about improving our attendance, chronic absenteeism obviously has a starting point, and it typically starts with our students that become chronically late and then they become chronically absent. And of course, we're all trying to make sure that our students have, as the most time in school as they should. So, improving attendance is a team. It's not a solo sport. And this tool is really designed to help you manage this process and create a data-driven approach to resolving your, tardy issues. So, we're here to help you. We want to be part of that team. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. If there's anybody that you were hoping could see this demo, you're going to get an email, right, Brian? Email with a link to the recording. You'll have the recording. You can also reach out. Maybe your questions are a little more specific and you want to go through something, specifically with somebody else on your team. Reach out. I'm here. We're here, available and ready to help. And I hope to hear from everybody.
Yes, and in the email, I'll put Tina's contact information as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Thank you for making everything run so smoothly, too, as always. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We appreciate all of you.